Four-star Keaton Wagler commits to the Illini. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another breaking news edition of Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Remember, simple like and subscribe helps this channel immensely. Costs you absolutely nothing and helps me out a lot. Again, I'm out here providing content daily for Illini sports, including these breaking news episodes. Keaton Wagler, earlier today, just committed to the Illini. The four-star sharpshooter out of Kansas committed to Brad Underwood and the Illini. And I'm going to be bringing on my good friend, Alex from Armchair Illini, to tell us a little bit about Keaton's basketball game. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course. Again, you guys really know what you're doing at Armchair Illini, and I base a lot of my episodes and segments on some of the content you guys provide. So definitely for the viewers watching this, if you haven't visited their website yet, please do. They do a fantastic job writing up articles. Both Alex and Kirk do a great job. So Alex, what I wanted to do was kind of talk about Keaton Wagler. I know you recently looked over some tape for him. Let's be honest, his offer list wasn't exactly something that blows you away, and not the type of guy that Illinois has been recruiting recently. But when I speak for myself, when I watch some of his clips on YouTube, to me, he might be almost under-recruited. He kind of does all the things that Brad Underwood really likes in a basketball player, and I think Illinois may have found a gem. What do you think?
Yeah, 100% agree. Like you said, he doesn't have a huge offer list. Some of his main offers are Minnesota, Drake, smaller schools like that in the Midwest. But, you know, the thing that jumps out to me in his film is his shot. Kid's an elite shooter. All his highlights are essentially, catch and shoot, coming off screens, shot making from the perimeter. So that's essentially his MO. I think the reason that he's a little bit under-recruited and maybe not as notable is probably his weight. He's a little bit on the slender side. But he has good length. He has a great frame that I think can really fill out at the next level. He's 6'6". I think just talking to some of the people that are really well connected, really know basketball, Minnesota really wanted this kid, high major program. And they had a guy by the name of Cam Christie, who is currently on the Los Angeles Clippers, was just drafted in the NBA draft. Similar game, a little bit on the slender side, skinnier kid, but elite shooter. And if he could follow that Cam Christie mold, Cam Christie was a one and done. He wasn't very highly recruited either. Minnesota was probably his only major Power 5 offer. So if Keaton can follow that mold, I think he certainly can based off of his shot stroke. You're looking at a one and done type of kid. Well, I think so. It's hard to say because you never can really know when a slender kid comes in, but that shot looks really, really good.
Yeah, I think he visited last weekend, and I was pretty optimistic on our chances of landing him. I just wasn't sure if we were going to necessarily push for it, but obviously we did. Tyler Underwood was leading the recruitment on Keaton, and for me, I was somewhat confident that we could get him, but I knew that Minnesota, like you mentioned, was an option. And if Keaton's looking to come to a basketball team where he can play minutes right away, at Minnesota, he could play 25 minutes and they can, they're not going to win a lot, but that's the type of place where a guy like Cam Christie, can thrive. Illinois, the biggest benefit for him would probably be a guy like Fletch. Fletch has become immensely popular on social media now just because we see the transformations of some of our basketball players after just a couple of months. I agree with you, and I think Keaton just needs to gain some weight. I mean, he's got good size. 6'6" is the type of guard that Brad Underwood craves at this point. So he's got the size there. He does need to gain a little bit of weight. But I wasn't sure if the commitment was going to happen because I didn't know how much playing time he wanted immediately. I don't know if any promises have been made with Illinois. I don't know about you. I guess I'll ask you now. Do you really see what kind of minutes he would play on next year's basketball team, or do you think this is a more of a long-term spot for Keaton?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's really hard to say what a kid is expecting in terms of his role. Obviously, most kids want to play right away. NIL era, transfer portal era, you can transfer one time and start playing. So it doesn't really make sense anymore to sit on the bench a year. Even if you go to a lower level or even like a not winning program, you want to make sure that you play, get your name out early, and then you can transfer to some of these big names. You look at some of the kids that just recently committed to places like Kentucky, UConn, like a guy like Kobe Brea, who was at Dayton for a few years. Now he's at Kentucky. I think kids know that they can follow that mold. But for Keaton, I think the development certainly sticks out to him, obviously with Fletch, but playing alongside good players. When you're a shooter, you want to play alongside good players. And to answer your question about the role, it really depends on how this year goes. If Kylan Boswell and Kasparas Yakuchones are what they are in terms of the 2025 NBA draft prospects, then Keaton's going to get a good amount of minutes. But then even if they're still on this roster, during Keaton's freshman year, I think it's really good to have two really experienced, likely NBA prospects, playing ahead of you and, finding you for open shots. And you're going to have a Merez Johnson that's there, a guy that eats up a lot of size in the paint. So I think regardless of how this roster shakes up, and it's really hard to say because, like I said, you never know if Kylan or KJ are going to be NBA draft prospects. But if they're still here, I think it's just as good as if they're not, because Keaton's going to get his shots up. That shooting will always translate.
And I've always talked about this. In the modern day NIL world, you almost have to treat it like it's a salary cap. And so sometimes you're going to need, especially with the additional scholarships that the basketball teams are going to have from now on, in the moving on in the future, you want some guys who might be more developmental guys who are not going to take up much of that NIL cap, because Illinois with Orlando Antigua and Jeff Alexander and who knows who else are going to still continue to be aggressive when it comes to trying to get the big fish. But you can't just spend, six figures on every single prospect. Eventually you kind of run out of money. And that's where you kind of want the guys like a Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, who are good basketball players who can develop in the locker room, who can develop on the basketball court and be culture guys moving forward. Ultimately, if Keaton comes here, doesn't play his first year and decides to transfer out, that's kind of the name of the game now. Like, that's just naturally going to happen. But he may come here, all of a sudden have a great relationship with Fletch, notice himself getting bigger. He might surprise guys like you and me and a lot of other folks, and he might have more opportunity to play based on his shooting. As you mentioned, his skill set, I've talked about this all the time with Brad Underwood. What does he want? He wants length, he wants shooting, and he wants versatility. Keaton's going to be able to offer you all three of those. So for me, this was a prototypical Brad Underwood recruit. Maybe under-recruited. We'll see moving forward. But Alex, thank you so much for jumping on again. Please let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the kind words about Armchair Illini. We got all great things going up on there. We'll have film breakdown and kind of the news, as much as we can get. And we also base off our content based off of the Locked On Illini show. So it goes both ways. Sunny, you do an awesome job covering it day to day. No one does it better than you, with day-to-day content. So appreciate the love and know it's mutual as well. But armchairillini.com, Twitter at armchairillini. We just started Instagram as well. If you're on there, follow us there too.
Thank you, Alex. And that's going to wrap it up for this breaking news edition for Locked On Illini. Keaton Wagler commits to the Illini. I'm going to have more information about this recruitment right here on Locked On Illini. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Either way, I'll be back tomorrow with another brand new full edition of Locked On Illini, because that's what I do. Daily Illinois content for you. Until then, ILL love you guys.